It has officially been reported by Adam Schefter that Cincinnati Bengals star quarterback Joe Burrow is out for the rest of the season. Now, there's a couple things that I want to talk about within this injury, but first off, I want to say my condolences to Joe Burrow and Mark Andrews. It sucks that the first time we actually get a competent and a competitive football game on Thursday Night Football, you don't have to like either of these teams, but if you love the game of football, you would love to watch two of the AFC's contenders in a division matchup. We know the history between the Bengals and the Ravens, but we didn't get to see it in its totality last night. So that's just disappointing. I was really hyped for this game. I was amped up to watch this one, and just to see it go down the way it did, that's nothing you never want to see. But fans around the NFL have brought into question what the NFL has been doing lately, because you partner with the FanDuel, you partner with the DraftKings, you partner with the Prize Picks, and people are questioning the ethicality and the integrity of a move like this. Is everything being reported with Joe Burrow's injury? Is this an injury that should have been reported a little earlier? He was not on the injury list, but we bring in this question because we say, okay, getting off of the team bus, Joe Burrow was spotted wearing a compression sleeve on his wrist. Does this really mean that he was hurt? I don't think it does. But we also have to look at it and say, this is a guy who's coming off of a short week. He feels a little soreness, and that's okay. That's the game of football. You're going to be sore coming into Thursday Night Football. So if you want to wear a compression sleeve on your wrist, your hand, your ankle, anywhere you want to wear a compression sleeve, that does not really mean you should be on the injury list. And I want to bring in a soundbite from Joe Burrow because he has some interesting things to say when talking about this topic.
This is a completely different thing. It's not uncommon for guys to wear compression sleeves on plane because when you go up to that altitude, things can swell up. I had, football, you have a lot of bumps and bruises. This is a completely new injury.
So to digest this one, Joe Burrow, out of his own mouth, it's not uncommon for guys to wear compression sleeves going into that altitude. When you play the game of football, you're coming off of a short week, nicks and bruises, bumps, swelling, different things of that nature. That's common when we talk about the game of football. Now, speculators and people who say, okay, I betted on this. I bet $100,000. I bet 50 grand. I bet 20 grand on this football game. I'm looking at it and saying, okay, no T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd is going to go off. Jamar Chase is going to go off. All of these guys are going to go off. I think Joe Burrow is going to get 2 touchdowns tonight. I think he's going to go over, et cetera, so many yards. But we don't have things like this if we can't properly analyze how the game will look, if we can't properly predict, and we don't have all of the information to predict a football game like this. So I think that is why people are calling into question the NFL's process. Now, on the other hand of this, there's a flip side as well. I think Joe Burrow could be, in fact, telling the truth. I saw this guy play through a calf injury that a lot of people probably would have sat out for. He went out there with his guys in week 1. Now, this was before the deal even got done. Training camps, OTAs, he was not a full participant as far as on the field activities because he was dealing with the calf. And he said, okay, if I can just get out there for week 1 and feel at least 80% like myself, and that's the type of guy I want. Now, when we think about Joe Burrow, there's something that clicks in him that makes him a little different. And I say it, if you're the best and you're one of the better players in any professional avenue, something has to be a little different about you mentally. Now, nobody's going to go out here and say, if I drop the poll down below in the comments, nobody's going to go out there and say, okay, who has the strongest arm? Click Joe Burrow. Nobody's going to say that. Who's the fastest and most agile quarterback in the game? Click Joe Burrow. Nobody's going to say that. But we talk about decision making. We talk about a guy you want in your locker room. We talk about cold-blooded. What makes you different outside of what you can actually do on the field? And that's not to knock him because he's absolutely amazing on the field. I think that if I dropped the poll and said who's a top 3 quarterback, who's the best quarterback outside of a Patrick Mahomes and can even rival with a Patrick Mahomes, he's beat him a few times. We say that. Click Joe Burrow. So understanding all of this and bringing in a guy like that, I think that even if he had some soreness and he felt that he couldn't fully function with the wrist injury like he had, he was going to fight through it. Now, that's not also to say that this was an actual injury. That's not to say that, but I think that even if he had some things which he felt like were really nagging him a little bit coming off of the short week, he was going to play through it anyway. Like I said, though, we're looking at this from a bettor's perspective, from those guys who put so much money into the NFL and who watch the game avidly as sports fans and bettors. We got to say, okay, where's my information? I have to understand this, even if it's not an injury. Let's put him on the injury report. He doesn't have to be questionable, but let's list this down because this is a quarterback. What do you need to throw with a quarterback? You need a hand, you need an arm, you need a wrist. So we look at all of this and say, okay, now I just don't feel like I'm getting the full information. I don't feel like I'm getting all of the details that I need to really assess this information. So I think that is funny when we talk about it. I want to know what you guys think down below in the comments, because I felt like the Cincinnati Bengals, they had a chance to win this game. They were looking solid and competitive in the first half. Like I said, the play that he got hurt was a 1st and goal play. And then you look at how he played in the first half before he actually went out. The guy was hitting on all cylinders. So like I said, you can't say that he came into this game with the injury, because he started off the game amazing. Nothing short of it. So it's just something you have to look at. And I think that for the NFL, they're going to launch their investigation. They're going to probe into this situation. But now in the bigger picture, this is something I just talked about in my last video. This adds to a significant list of injuries. And like I said, I can name 5 guys. I can go Matt Milano. I can go Trayvon Diggs. I could go Trey White. I could go Aaron Rodgers. I talked about this in my last video. All of the guys who I look at and I really respect in the game of football, because they bring great play to the game of football. Adding to this list, significant quarterback injuries for the year. Joe Burrow, wrist. Deshaun Watson, shoulder. Kirk Cousins, Achilles. Daniel Jones, torn ACL. Anthony Richardson, shoulder surgery. Aaron Rodgers, Achilles. These are 6 quarterbacks who bring fandom to the game of football, and we don't get to fully see what they could have done this season. Now, Aaron Rodgers, I don't know what he's taking. I don't know what he's doing or what is his rehab method, but it's looking like he's kind of on the arc. If they make the playoffs, he can possibly make a surprise return. That's some speculation right there. But let me know what you think down below about this Joe Burrow injury. Like I said, it's a pretty interesting one. I don't want to base my analysis off of the speculation. I think that Joe Burrow's telling the truth. Now, we could also say this is PR. This is coaches speak. We're telling him to say some of these things. We're telling Zach Taylor to say some of these things. But when you look at it, the NFL, they're extremely strict about this. I don't think this is something you can play with. So with that being said, I think Joe Burrow just got hurt. It's devastating. Also, my condolences once again to him and Mark Andrews. Thank you for watching this video. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. But that's going to do it for today. And now, we out.